In the harsh southern reaches of Folkyr, where volcanoes spew fire and the very earth trembles with primal fury, a race was born from violence and chaos. The Orcs, children of fire and stone, emerged as a scourge upon the land, their coming heralded by war cries and the clash of steel. The crucible of creation. Legend speaks of the Orcs' violent birth in the Age of Fire, when the world was young and wild. It is said that Gaia, the living earth, was locked in a fierce battle with Helios, the sun god, their conflict shaking the very foundations of Folkyr. As they clashed, drops of Gaia's blood and Helios' fire fell to the earth, mingling in the crucibles of great volcanoes. From these volcanic wombs, the first Orcs emerged, creatures of muscle and fury, their green skin tough as stone, their eyes blazing with inner fire. Unlike the other races of Folkyr, the Orcs were not crafted with care or purpose. They were born of conflict, and conflict would forever be their legacy. 5 great warriors arose from this chaotic birth. Groknak the Skullcrusher, Morgare of the Flame Reaver, Thrak the Ironhide, Zargasha the Shadowstrike, Grimthor the Worldbreaker. These progenitors were living embodiments of destruction, each one a force of nature unto themselves. They did not receive wisdom or guidance from their divine parents. Instead, they were left to forge their own brutal path through the world. The rise of the savage clans. The 5 progenitors quickly established dominance over lesser Orcs, forming the first and most powerful clans. Each clan took on the aspects of its founder, becoming specialists in different forms of warfare and raiding. The Skullcrusher clan. Groknak's descendants became notorious berserkers, their fury in battle unmatched. They eschewed armor, preferring to fight bare-chested, their bodies covered in ritual scars and war paint. Skullcrushers were often the first to charge into battle, their earth-shaking war cries striking terror into the hearts of their enemies. The Flame Reaver clan. Morgare's clan developed a terrifying affinity for fire. They adorned themselves with burning brands and wielded flaming weapons in battle. Flame Reaver raids were marked by wanton destruction, leaving nothing but ash and ruin in their wake. Their shamans practiced dark fire magic, calling forth demons from the volcanoes to aid in their conquests. The Ironhide clan. Thrak's progeny became the most physically imposing of all Orcs. Their skin, tougher than cured leather, could turn aside sword blows. Ironhide served as the anvil to the other clans' hammers, forming impenetrable shield walls in battle. They were also skilled metalworkers, forging crude but effective armor and weapons from scavenged materials. The Shadowstrike clan. Zargasha's clan developed a reputation for stealth and cunning unusual among Orcs. They became masters of ambush and night fighting, using the cover of darkness to strike at enemies when they were most vulnerable. Shadowstrikes were often employed as scouts and assassins by other clans, their services paid for in blood and plunder. The Worldbreaker clan. Grimthor's descendants were siege specialists, experts in destroying fortifications and routing entrenched enemies. They crafted massive war machines from wood and stone, hurling boulders and flaming projectiles at enemy strongholds. Worldbreakers took pride in leaving no stone standing atop another in conquered territories. A culture of constant warfare. Orcish society developed not around cooperation, but competition. Each clan vied for supremacy, leading to near-constant warfare between Orcish settlements. These conflicts were brutal affairs, with entire clans being wiped out or absorbed by their conquerors. The landscape of the Orcish lands was ever-changing, marked by crude fortifications, burned-out settlements, and fields strewn with the bones of the fallen. Strength became the only virtue in Orcish culture. The weak were culled, used as slaves, or offered as sacrifices to the primal spirits that the Orcs venerated. Leadership was determined by combat, with chieftains expected to personally lead their warriors into battle. An Orc leader who showed weakness or hesitation would quickly find themselves challenged and overthrown. This constant internal strife forged the Orcs into a race of supreme warriors. Every Orc, male and female alike, was expected to be proficient in combat from a young age. Those who could not fight were seen as worthless, fit only to serve those who could. The Scourge of Folkyr. As Orcish numbers grew, the constant warfare between clans was no longer enough to slake their thirst for battle. The Orcs began to look beyond their volcanic homelands, seeing the fertile lands of their neighbors as ripe for plunder. Raids on human lands. The northern human kingdoms were the first to feel the fury of Orcish raids. Orcish war parties would sweep down from the mountains, pillaging villages and small towns before retreating with their spoils. These raids were swift and merciless, leaving scenes of utter devastation in their wake. Humans learned to fear the sound of Orcish war horns, knowing that death and destruction followed in their wake. Great walls and fortresses were built along the borders of human lands, but the Orcs always seemed to find ways through or around these defenses. Clashes with the beast folk. The beast folk of the eastern wilds proved to be more challenging prey. Their primal nature and connection to the land made them formidable opponents. Orcish raids into beast folk territory often ended in disaster, with entire war parties disappearing into the dense forests, never to be seen again. Some Orcish clans developed a grudging respect for the beast folk, seeing them as worthy opponents. It became a mark of great prestige for an orc warrior to return from the eastern wilds with beast folk trophies. The vampire threat. The vampires of Umbervale to the east saw the Orcs as both a threat and an opportunity. Vampire lords would sometimes employ Orcish mercenaries, using them as expendable shock troops in their own wars. However, this often backfired, as Orcs were notoriously difficult to control and would often turn on their employers if they sensed weakness. Some vampires attempted to create orc thralls, seeking to combine Orcish strength with vampire cunning. The results were monstrous abominations that were quickly put down by both orcs and vampires alike. Giant encounters. The nomadic frost giant tribes of the far north occasionally clashed with Orcish war parties. These battles were the stuff of legend, with Orcish berserkers hurling themselves at foes 3 times their size. While the giants were individually more powerful, the orcs' numbers and ferocity often carried the day. Orcish shamans coveted the magical ice weapons of the frost giants, leading to daring raids deep into giant territory to steal these prized artifacts. Orcish culture in modern times. In the present day, the Orcs remain a constant threat to the other races of Folkyr. While they have not managed to unite in a great horde for many generations, individual clans continue to raid and pillage along the borders of their territory. Orcish settlements are crude affairs, little more than military encampments designed to be easily abandoned if a stronger force approaches. The only permanent Orcish structures are their religious sites, great temples built into the sides of volcanoes, where shamans commune with primal spirits and offer sacrifices for victory in battle. Orcish art is primarily martial in nature. Weapons and armor are adorned with trophies from fallen enemies, and the tales of great victories are carved into stone monoliths or painted on cave walls using pigments mixed with the blood of their foes. The future of the Orcish race remains uncertain. Some human scholars believe that the Orcs will eventually destroy themselves through their constant warfare. Others fear that a new Grishnak will arise, uniting the clans into an unstoppable horde that will sweep across Folkyr like a tide of destruction. One thing is certain: as long as the volcanoes of southern Folkyr continue to burn, the Orcish threat will endure. For in every Orc's heart burns the undying fire of battle, a legacy of their violent creation that can never be extinguished. Travelers in Folkyr would do well to remain vigilant when passing near Orcish lands. For when the war drums echo across the ashen plains and the horizon glows with the light of 1,000 torches, it means only one thing: the savage clans are on the move, and all of Folkyr trembles in their wake.